Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of your favorite podcast. And, guys, in today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about something that will simplify your life, make everything so easy and so effortless that you're going to be able to execute super, super fast and save a whole lot of energy and time. And that will allow you to basically achieve what you want and do it faster than anybody else so that you can conquer the market, you can beat your competitors. Okay? So for that, I will tell you a very quick story. Okay? This happened just yesterday and it will happen today again. Okay? So there is this little girl. She's like my little baby, right? She's like my little girl. And she is 9. Okay? And she had exams and she's studying math. Right? And so she asked me for help with math. And I was like, oh my God, I don't remember any of that stuff. And so we were learning fractions, okay? And so I go there, and so there are all these fractions and stuff that I don't remember. And I said, look, what we're going to do is if we are able to create a set of very, very simple rules, then you will be able to solve all these fractions, all these equations very, very easily, okay? Because again, I had to explain to a kid how this stuff works, how to run the math, and I figured, why don't we create something simple, okay? And so we ended up creating 3 rules. We have 3 rules, and with these 3 rules, now she will be able to solve pretty much any fraction. It doesn't matter if it's, and we tried with like multiples, like a fraction with like 2,377 as a denominator. Now she can solve that equation very, very quickly with these 3 rules, okay? So the rules were very simple. I'm going to give you an example. So rule number 1 was, let's say, for example, you have a fraction that says 7 divided by 4, like a fraction 7 divided by 4, and then 5 divided by 4, okay? So like this, right? So I told her, if the denominator is the same, you just forget about it. You just look at the number above and you pick the highest number. That's it. So it doesn't matter if it's 4. It doesn't matter if it's like 3 quadrillion, 250 million, blah, 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 etc. As long as it's the same number, you just forget about it and then you pick the highest number, okay? Simple rule. Which means that she doesn't actually have to run the math. And then we had another rule that basically said, if the numbers above are the same, so 6/5 and 6/4, for example, forget about the 6's and then look at the number, the denominator. Which one is the smallest? That's the one. All right? So simple. And now she can just run it, okay? So it might seem very simple to you, or maybe it helps you, like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, I've been struggling with fractions the whole time. Maybe if it did help you, then fine. But maybe you're like, what does it have to do with anything? So what it has to do with, for example, for you, for your business and for your life, is if you don't have those simple rules, what will happen to this little girl? If she didn't have the simple rule, she will have to run each and every time she encounters that fraction, she will have to run the math. Okay, let me calculate this, all right? And here in this case, she doesn't have to, okay? Because of that one rule, she saves so much time, so much energy and time dealing with kind of like the exceptions, I'll say, okay? Now, we created a simple rule. It has to be super simple. And this rule, you can actually consider it as a principle. Okay? It's the same thing. My life is based on principles. There are things, they always apply. Well, the good news with the principle is that it always applies. And of course, there are some exceptions sometimes, extenuating circumstances. I don't remember how it's said. Sorry, I'm not native. But my approach is this. Instead of focusing on the exceptions, like most people, I focus on the rule, because the rule is going to apply 95% of the time. So 95% of the time, I save time. Where you, for example, who are just working with the exceptions, you have to run the math. You have to to go through that situation and stuff all the time, okay? And this is why my life is directed by principles. And these principles, they have to be simple, okay? Simple rules. I just read this book recently. I think it's called Simple Rules, actually. And it's basically showing you how some companies were able to skyrocket just by putting in place simple rules, okay? So there are things that are very simple. So instead of having to check 20 variables, you could have 2 variables that you're checking out, right? So for example, for some of my businesses, right? So there is this business, it's working really, really well, okay? And so there are 300 gazillion variables, okay? But there are 2 variables that will matter to me, okay? Now, first variable for this business is this something that I can do in less than 5 minutes, super easily, or by pressing a button or something? Variable number 1. Variable number 2, can I do this until infinity? So it's either my tool or I have an unlimited version of it. And if those 2 things are met, that's it. It's done. I know I can do it. So now, guess what? I can go out and find leads. I can find unlimited leads because it doesn't take me too much time to do the job, and I can do it until infinity. So you see, instead of me having to look at, what is the size of the market, and what is this, and what is that, blah, 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 I have 2 simple rules, okay? And this is what you want to build. And I have all these rules for my life as well. I call them principles. So because my life is built on principles, it makes things so much easier, faster, and more consistent, okay? That is one thing that I see in a lot of people is a lack of consistency because they don't have those principles. There's always a reason why, it's acceptable for that to happen, okay? Especially when, you are involved, right? Because, people have principles, obviously, but those principles, they stop working the second they have to apply to them, which is not my case. My case, some people might think I'm very rigid. They're like, oh yeah, you're rigid. No, I have principles. It doesn't matter if it applies to me or if it applies to anybody else. And it doesn't matter if it's in my favor or not, the principle will apply. It makes things very, very easy. I sound very rigid, like the army or something, but I do understand now kind of like a little bit more like the stuff in the military, blah, 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 even though, I mean, for me, that's, I'm not a soldier. I'm not a military guy. I could never go to the army ever. It's not for me, right? But these rules, those principles, I do understand some of the mechanics. Of course, there are exceptions, right? And but that happens 5% of the time, okay? And so why would I focus on the 5% when I should just focus on the 95 that usually happen, and then things are running smoothly, okay? So this is what I want you to do in your business. I want you to go in your business and form simple rules. The simpler, the better, okay? Just like the example I gave you with those fractions. Now, this little kid is able to run fractions in a split second. There you go. And then we have the third rule. If the numbers are different, we do something else, right? But you don't need to have a gazillion, like, the checklist of 25 million, a checklist of like 67 points before you do something. No. Okay. So you want to have the main checklist. Does it check these 2 boxes? Yes. If yes, then let me look at the rest. If it doesn't, then let me move on. Okay. Then you save so much time, you execute faster, and then you make better decisions, and it's consistent. Okay. So that is kind of like what I wanted to tell you today. And I think that I have been doing this kind of like not instinctively. I think it's obviously it's acquired, but I did not realize that I was doing it as much as I am. In my personal life, in my principles, because I talk about my values with people very often, I knew it that I had principle. I have more principles than most people. Okay, or most people are just, well, no, it's okay for me to do it, but not for you. Yeah, but in this case, I could do it because all that stuff. I don't have the stuff. Okay, so I knew it in that department, but I didn't realize how much I was doing it in business as well. And that was actually a big contributor to me being able to execute a lot faster, and a big contributor of the success that I've been able to get in a lot of businesses and ventures that I've been in, okay? So go ahead and look at what it is that you're doing, and dump that checklist of like 20 million items. So again, if you are in aviation, or I don't know, like you're a heart surgeon or something, please have your lengthy checklist. Yeah, it's not for the safety or for the kind of like the execution. Okay, it's for the decision making. All right, it's for the decision making only. When you have to decide, do I put my energy into this stuff? Then have this very simple rules, like 2 or 3. Okay, yeah. Okay, there we go. Now we can look at the 67 left, right? Because otherwise, let's imagine you are going to go, let's say you have 10 projects, okay? And you are going to go through 67 points of a checklist. This is 670 points that you will check. And let's imagine that only the 10th project was the one. So before finding out that, oh, that's the one, you've gone through, I don't know, like 300 steps, okay? Whereas if you have a checklist of 3 items or 2 items, just like I have, boom, like 18. After 18 steps, you've eliminated the other ones. And then at step number 20, you have it. 20 instead of 367 or something, no. Oh, no, that's even like instead of 670. Sorry, my math is terrible today. Instead of 600, right, you will have like 20, all right? And that is the difference. That's the separation between people who are able to execute fast, make better decisions, and decisions that are consistent, and the rest of the population that just wastes a lot of time in those unnecessary steps and validations and stuff, okay? Because quickness, success loves speed, okay? Now, it doesn't mean that you need to just run and just do things like an idiot and not consider it, but you have to find a way to execute faster, and simple rules are the best tool. I'm so happy because, this poor little girl, she was, the exam was today, she was freaking out because she did not understand it. Now she will solve all these equations and stuff for the rest of her life like this, all right? With 3 simple rules. Build your own simple rules and let me know in the comment, right? Let me know in the comment, what simple rules do you have? I'm pretty sure you have some of these rules. Let me know in the comments what yours are, and probably we can all learn from it. Now, if everybody chips in, then it will help the community as a whole. What are those simple rules that you use yourself in your life? It doesn't have to be just business, right? Relationships, that's a big one as well. So for example, if you see the crazy eyes come out like this, wow, you know what I mean? So it could be, relationships, it could be, I don't know, sports, health, whatever, all right? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this podcast, if it makes you think and it makes you a better person, it makes you execute faster and you get some value out of it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much. You have a great day. Bye.